Welcome to the CoSN podcast, produced in partnership with MindRocket Media Group, the worldwide leader in demand generation, communication outreach, and thought leadership in education. CoSN represents over 13 million students in districts and educational institutions nationwide and continues to grow as a powerful and influential voice in K-12 education. This high-profile podcast series showcases industry thought leaders and executives who provide timely market insights and key guidance on various educational technology strategies. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dan Cavalli with MindRocket Media Group, and on behalf of CoSN and today's sponsor, Discovery Education, we have an extraordinary guest from the Southern California area. This individual, with support from a number of dynamic colleagues and community leaders, took their passion and love of education and went that extra mile to represent the community of Linwood Unified School District in a Herculean effort to provide access to free high-speed internet across the entire city of Linwood, California. Dr. Patrick Gittisriboongul is the Assistant Superintendent, Technology and Innovation at Linwood Unified School District. Dr. G has made tremendous impacts in education in his career. He has been hands-on in implementing blended learning programs, computer science and coding academies, and architecting career pathways for students to earn technology certifications. Dr. G has also served as the Director of Education Technology and Information Services with the Huntington Beach Union High School District and spent time with the community at Montebello Unified School District. Dr. G, welcome to the CoSN podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate the time. Really looking forward to our conversation today.
Fantastic. I was told early on through my research that you are convinced that your last name is the longest in San Diego County. Could you add a little bit of that little levity to get going?
Yeah, so I go by Dr. G, but my full name is Patrick Gittisriboongul. I got 15 letters in my last name. So I always say that I'm the self-proclaimed longest last name in San Diego County. Now that I'm back in LA County, I've done the same thing where I say that, I have the longest last name. I'm still trying to find someone that has a longer last name than me. It's 15 letters. It's got like 6 to 7 vowels. I definitely probably would have won Wheel of Fortune or would have spent a lot of money if you wanted to buy a vowel. So again, I'm still trying to find someone that has a longer last name than me.
That's great. Wonderful. Yeah, I was going to start the fact that you're an avid Lakers fan, but that's a disappointing season. So we'll move on to the education technology side of things first. Here we go.
That really hurt, by the way.
No problem. Dr. G, in my research and digging up things about you for this interview and talking to some of the folks that recommended us talk to you, you did some amazing things with Linwood Unified School District in 2020 during COVID. You did everything all districts did, but you went above and beyond. Can you explain to me a little bit about what those extra efforts were that you did that really impacted the students in the community of Linwood?
Sure. And thanks for the question. So, in Linwood Unified, just to give everyone a little bit of context of, Linwood Unified is a tight-knit community. It's basically in a 5-mile radius. It's got families, parents, teachers, and students. And we all work together to really have this, positive environment for success for all of our kids. Oftentimes we'll have teachers that actually are parents as well. And then, our board members are parents, obviously. But throughout this community, because it's such a small knit community, they rally together. There's a lot of relationships that are built into this community. And that really kind of is unique to this district in particular, being a 5-mile city within a large urban area in Los Angeles County, is very unique in terms of what we did, when it came to, digital learning and, distance learning. I think that the way we've approached it is really around, this notion of digital equity, right? And so, recognizing that the shift to distance learning, really required all of our students to have access to a computer, have access to the internet, also offer technical support to families. I realized that, as our organization kind of shifts that conversation and shifts that support from providing support directly to teachers, that shift to families now really made us a kind of an ISP / tech support / genius bar for this entire community. So part of that was really trying to put together a strategy and a way to really accelerate digital equity to just make sure that every student really is able to kind of achieve the vision and mission of this organization, which is really to achieve their academic and personal aspirations, right? So when I came back to Linwood Unified in 2021, actually, one of the things that we did was we actually established a technology and innovation playbook. And so that playbook really kind of had really three overarching elements, just making sure that we have a purpose, right? Why are we doing this? How does it impact students? How does all the work that we're doing, how does our investment in Chromebooks, in devices, in applications, in tools, in ed tech, learning materials, how does that really provide a positive impact on our kids? And how does it help our organization moving forward? So that's really around the purpose, right? The second element that really kind of helps frame our playbook is really around developing that plan, right? And how do we measure that impact and success? How does it fit into our short-term, long-term plans? Do we have plan A, plan B, plan C? What's our maturity model, in 3 to 5 years? Oftentimes in education, we have this capital X model, right? And we never kind of budget for OpEx, right? And then I would say the last element is really making sure that we have a path. Who's on the team? What does success look like? Where are the blind spots and how we can move faster? And so as part of that playbook, digital equity surfaced to the top. And the way we define digital equity is really around three things, making sure that high speed, low cost, reliable, affordable internet access is provided to all of our families and students. Our second being making sure that we're able to provide technical support. As I mentioned earlier, we're now providing support directly to families. And then third and last is really around digital literacy training, right? So now that you got the device, now that you have the access, now we got to make sure that you have, the information and the wherewithal to make sure that you're able to access and utilize the computer and laptops or internet in a meaningful and productive way. So that's, I guess that's just the short and long of it, but that kind of gives you an idea of how we're approaching our organization.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's amazing to hear you talk about your strategic plan, even in and around equity, and also incorporating that into the community. When I looked back at your district strategic plan, there's 4 aspects of it that you covered just with your last statement: family involvement, fiscal resources, collaboration, and technology.
Right.
And you've managed to accomplish that in very short order. One of the things that really resonated with me in your statement, though, is about the introduction of the community into your plan and also educating them on the digital literacy training piece of this. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the digital literacy piece and how you're reaching the global audience outside of the student population to do that?
For sure. So again, we're fortunate and blessed to have a parent community liaison group here in this district that is able to really connect with families, with their native language, which is Spanish, right? And so that in itself, in terms of how we approach, parent trainings, we don't call it parent trainings anymore. We call it the parent empowerment, parent engagement trainings. And so I was fortunate to offer Power Hour for our parents to really share and demystify, what it is that we do here in Linwood Unified. Who are the folks that actually support their students that attend the schools. And so as part of that digital literacy training, we're able to give all parents kind of an overview of all the different tools that we have, right? How we approach and how we support through services, solutions, accounts and passwords, this whole complicated nature of technology and software and websites. And, you got to log into this platform, you got to log into that platform. So we're able to provide a portal, if you will, for all of our parents to access and sign on. We gave an overview of basically, how we're using digital curriculum tools. We're very much, we recognize that tools, it's just a tool, right? But in many ways, it provides them with that rigor that our families need at home as well. And so we gave overviews of what we were doing in ELA and math and social studies. We've been able to really partner with Discovery Education and have that be part of our curriculum tools that we're offering as well. And so that whole experience of providing award-winning content, research-based content, texts, access to all of these different resources has really been instrumental in making sure our kids aren't left behind, that they were able to address some of their learning acceleration, if you will. And so, again, it's really around sharing what we have, sharing what their kids are doing in a meaningful way through our parent empowerment hours.
Discovery Education is a worldwide ed tech leader whose state-of-the-art digital platform supports learning wherever it takes place. Through its award-winning multimedia content, instructional supports, and innovative classroom tools, Discovery Education helps educators deliver equitable learning experiences, engaging all students and supporting higher academic achievement on a global scale. Explore the future of education at www.discoveryeducation.com. Dr. T, thanks for that explanation. That was great. Again, leveraging community, as we know, education doesn't start or stop in the school system. It continues in the home. And my understanding is Linwood's transformation goes beyond just the classroom. I understand that there's an agreement that was recently made in the city of Linwood with Sci-Fi Networks to bring high-speed connectivity to every home and business in Linwood at no cost to the taxpayers. Amazing. How is it that your district seemed to benefit from that? Or did your district help influence that?
Yeah, so I would tell you that we were a major influence in this. We initiated a conversation with Sci-Fi. When I first came back to Linwood in April of 2021, that was my first contact. Gave a cold email out to Sci-Fi Networks and said, hey, we're interested in trying to bring fiber throughout this city and throughout this community. And they responded. And so, through really, multiple meetings, engagement sessions, we were able to bring Sci-Fi in, and the city of Linwood actually signed a development agreement with them recently, and that was in February of 2022. Let me take a step back and tell you kind of our process and timeline in terms of how we really started with Sci-Fi. So in April of 2021, we initiated contact with Sci-Fi Networks. We held introductory meetings with the city manager and city staff. I wanted to do a shout out to one of the city council members, and her name is Rita Soto. And she was really championing this effort to really bring in Sci-Fi Networks and really turn Linwood into a fiber city. In July 2021, the city council actually authorized negotiations with Sci-Fi Networks. In October, we drafted a board resolution for our school board to really review and really just kind of basically codify our support for the city and the city council to move forward with their agreement with Sci-Fi Networks. And in February 1st, the city council approved that development agreement. And so in February 10th, our board passed that resolution for approval and adoption. And so I'm very happy about that. The benefits to this community is tremendous. It's, again, zero taxpayer dollars. All permits, city inspections, and support is going to be paid by Sci-Fi. It's going to help us build a robust citywide fiber network, really addressing that digital equity and digital divide that we have. It's also open access, right? So, to me, it's going to create competition. And, right now, I think there's only 2 providers within the city that is currently offered, and that's limiting in many ways because sometimes they can drive up costs. And so if you only have 2 options, you're very limited. So if there's other providers in the space that can really be competitive, it can really help move, costs down and drive costs down. And at the same time, again, having fast internet connections and fiber throughout the community can really help develop economic development for this community too. And so, it positions the city as well as our school district to really help promote these smart city initiatives as well. So very, very happy about that. Very proud of our efforts and our work. Again, we couldn't do this alone. So very fortunate to have the city council, the mayor, and all the team of the city of Linwood really partner with us moving forward.
No, that's great, Patrick. Congratulations. It's a Herculean effort to get anything past a city council like that. I have a quote here actually from Rita Soto. You mentioned her name, Linwood council member, who was huge in pushing this through, who said all Linwood residents will benefit. The fiber internet opens opportunities for our community members and our children. Students will have the ability to access additional resources without limitations. That's just amazing. And the fact that it's open access is interesting. But are there any concerns that you have with it being open access from a cybersecurity perspective?
Well, again, I always have concerns when it comes to cybersecurity. As the CTO for a school district, and with all of these different attacks that are happening in the public sector, it's important to make sure that whatever service provider that we partner with, that we have policies in place, that we have network security and content filtering that is always part of the strategy. So cybersecurity is a top priority for us. We're implementing multi-factor authentication for our staff, and so being able to have a partner with Sci-Fi, with any provider, we recognize that the internet is wide open, and being able to make sure that we have policies in place, that we have a firewall, we have appliances that can really monitor that traffic. That's always critical for us. So again, whatever provider we go with, whoever it may be, we are always on cybersecurity.
That's great. So what is the official timeline for the full rollout of this?
So for Sci-Fi, from what was proposed and what was discussed, it's going to take probably 3 to 4 years to build out. I know that, they're working, Sci-Fi is partnering with the city now to identify, roadways as well as, paths that they can take. So it will take about 3 to 4 years, but because we are a small community, a 5 mile radius, I'm hoping that it will take, anywhere from 2 to 3. Hopefully we can save on that, because I know that, as construction costs go up, it's only going to go up and go up and go up, right? So, the faster this company and Sci-Fi can finish this rollout of a citywide fiber network, the better and more cost effective it's going to be for the long term.
So Patrick, again, tremendous effort. I appreciate the longevity of that explanation, and it helps other community members, superintendents, CTOs in your role figure out how can they make this a possibility in their city, in their community as well. So let's turn back to the students again for a second.
Sure.
Having access like this is a game changer. You figured out a way to accomplish it since you've been back at Linwood Unified School District. Obviously, you must have a plan moving forward and kind of wake up in the middle of the night kind of excited of what it means for the students. I know you've made significant investments in digital resources during the pandemic. How does the improved access in the next 3 to 4 years support the district's efforts to improve the ROI of those resources and even potentially expand them?
So that's a great question. I really appreciate that. I will tell you, Dan, that part of our kind of conversations that we've been having is how can Linwood Unified partner with the city to become the ISP for all the residents and all of our students and student families that attend this district. Now, I think that, to me, that's pretty unique. I haven't heard of school districts becoming, the sole ISP for a city before. Usually, it's always, the other big tech firms that want to be AT&T, whoever you may be, Spectrum, Charter. So for us to, be able to partner with the city to create some type of municipal fiber ISP service, a JPA, if you will, a Joint Powers Authority, that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. I think that also positions us, right? It positions both the city as well as the school district. We are the second largest employer in the city of Linwood, by the way. But it positions us to be able to control the affordability and the cost, as well as apply for, whether it's federal grants or state grants as well, in a way that probably no other district is positioned to do that. So, being able to have that and have a community-wide network, through that's kind of that we provide, for services, that to me, it really helps us really address the digital divide, right? And so that in itself is really where I think we're heading in the next 3 to 4 years. Now, obviously, it's going to take a long process, but I think that positioning is really going to really benefit the families and the communities in this area.
I love that you're thinking ahead of the game. So let's talk about the teachers for a second. How excited are they to have this opportunity and access for themselves and for their students?
I think that they're going to be happy about it. I've had the opportunity to visit a lot of our schools and a lot of our classrooms, and I'll tell you that everyone is on the device. Everyone is using their device in really productive and meaningful ways. Everyone is on some type of learning management system, accessing resources. So, I think that being able to have that access, not only at the school, now at our homes and within our teachers and our families and our staff as well, I think that's a game changer, right? And so it's really about, not only economic development, but it's about making sure that our families have access to all the other aspects of the internet, right? And computers and technology, healthcare, social services. Getting a vaccine or an appointment for a vaccine should not be like buying a PS5 where, it's so difficult to get. It should be something that's seamless and easy to navigate. And so that to me, more than anything, that really helps this community move forward with having that robust citywide, network.
That's great. I love the fact that you were able to find a way to spin vaccines into gaming. That's tremendous. Thank you. That is wonderful. And they are equally as difficult. Right? Yeah. So the teachers are going to be excited about this. How do they integrate these digital solutions today? You mentioned your partnership with Discovery Education. Do you have other partnerships as well? And how do the teachers utilize that digital content in the everyday classroom, both brick and mortar and now in a potentially remote environment?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. We have a number of digital curriculum tools, and probably too many to list, and probably too many that our teachers are going, why are we using this again? Or how come we have so many of these tools? But I will tell you that the tools that we do have an impact on all of our kids. So just to kind of give a shout out to just some of our publishers, including Discovery Ed as well, Journeys and StudySync. We have Go Math for our math curriculum. We're using Clever for single sign-on. We have Newsela as well as Pear Deck. We are a Google Workspace for Education customer. And so we really, have been on Google probably since I was here from 2015 to 2018. We actually did a transition to Google in 2015. So we're very fortunate to have that. We're also using Flipgrid to really make sure that our students aren't just consuming content, that they're also creating that content as well. So I think that with all of these digital tools, it always goes back to what's the most impactful thing in the classroom, and that's a teacher, right? And so again, it's the tools that are enabling our teachers to make sure that they're making an impact on a day-to-day basis, outside the four walls of a classroom, at home, so that way our kids are able to thrive and accelerate their learning, access, rich materials. It's just making sure that again, we address digital equity in many ways.
Interesting comment on the students and Flipgrid for me. I always believe in your students have to be able to see it, create it, and use it. And all of those products you mentioned all accomplish different things for the students and the teachers, making it an ultimately robust solution. And, there isn't one solution across the board. It takes a village. And the same thing when it comes to your publishing partners and your digital content partners.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Again, it's often, what comes first, right? The cart before the horse sometimes, right? And so I know that there's not one tool that solves everything, right? I think the reality is that we have to make sure that we have multiple tools. And so having multiple tools, having multiple resources is absolutely critical for our students and our teachers to have. And so that way they can address whatever gaps that our kids may have, as well as accelerate learning for them too.
Let's dig on the students for a second and dive a little deeper into some other segments really quick. You have your mainstream students that the digital content addresses their needs, keep them on task. Let's talk a little bit about your students that are on IEPs. How do the students that are on IEPs benefit from this type of access in the future?
Well, again, with IEPs, IEPs really help individualize that experience and help personalize that experience for our kids. When it comes to digital tools, the purpose of these digital tools and the purpose of why we're implementing it is to really help personalize that learning. And so being able to identify and pinpoint just, again, some of the learning needs or the cognitive needs or the assistive technology needs that our kids need and have, that's really critical to address all the different learning modalities that our kids possess. So when it comes to special ed, assistive technologies, is absolutely critical. Being able to have, voice recognition, being able to really, transcribe, having, devices that really help with our visual and impaired students as well. So it's making sure that there's the right tool for the right purpose. And there's a ton of them, but we need to make sure that again, that students have what they need moving forward and that it's personalized for them.
I appreciate that.
I want to add that again, our focus is also around positive behavior and intervention support, which is PBIS. So platforms like Class Dojo, PBIS apps, where we offer those positive referrals, really, and then it points that really kids can earn in exchange for school supplies and fun toys and stickers and offer rewards. I think that's very important for us too.
Well, and that ties right back into the SEL and the social emotional learning aspect.
Exactly.
Yep. How have you seen a change since you've been back at Linwood with the integration of technology? Now they're all on their devices 24/7 at home. How is that incorporating back in the district?
Yeah, for us, it's really making sure that it's about balance, right? And so, yes, they have devices, but it's also okay not to use devices, put the devices down, and have a conversation. And that's one of the things that I mentioned to our superintendent, as well as all of our principals, is that, just because I oversee technology, I oversee innovation, doesn't mean that I expect and want everyone to be on a computer 24/7 or a laptop. That is by far, no, that's not me. And that's not the vision of this. It's making sure that they have access to those devices when they need it, right? So there's always a point in time where, hey, let's put the devices down. Let's fold the laptops and let's have that collaborative conversation and get together and really learn more about each kid, each family. Every kid comes to our district with a story. Making sure that they tell those stories and really telling their backgrounds and where they come from and how they got to where they're at. That, to me, more than anything, outside of technology, is very important. Technology innovation always starts with the people, and I will continue to say that until I leave, until I pass away, whatever it is. This is always about people. So that for me, it's about our kids. It's about, everyone here. So it's okay not to use technology too. So please make sure we include that in this podcast.
It is okay not to use technology. I got it. So that goes to, I have two questions last. Let's get to the one where you talk about access and it's okay not to use technology.
Right.
Let's talk about your student athletes for a second. So they're traveling to games. They need access on the school buses and parent carpools or whatever it is. How have you thought about how it's going to impact their ability to stay on top of their studies, continue to elevate their engagement in schooling while they're traveling to the football, baseball games, basketball games, and cheerleading events, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So we've actually, we were trying to pilot a, Wi-Fi on buses initiative. And I think we did do a pilot We tried it on a bus, and we actually parked the bus near one of our schools and put a hotspot in there. But we soon realized that, that bus and that hotspot was getting so much traffic that maybe it wasn't the viable solution. But I will tell you that we are looking at other options. We are looking at more robust equipment instead of just a hotspot, right? I know that there's some providers out in space that really help you strategize around that. So we are open to trying to make sure that there's access on buses, whether or not it's buying devices that already have 5G, 4G within them as well. Those are the things that we're definitely trying to address. But it would be nice to have Wi-Fi on wheels, everywhere throughout this community, and it'll come with time.
That's great. So you're trying to find an interim solution in the next 3 to 4 years before the initiative with Sci-Fi Network is in play.
Yeah, to me, again, I think putting citywide, community-wide Wi-Fi, that is where I think we can help address that. Obviously, it doesn't solve when students actually leave this community, right? And they take a bus to, let's say, Downey or Paramount to play a basketball game or a football game. So being able to have that on the go is something that we're looking at for sure.
That's great. That's great.
Yep.
So Patrick, last question for you.
Sure.
Are you currently working with other school district leaders in your surrounding area to come up with a solution similar to what you've created and influenced in Linwood?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be part of the California IT and Education Group. And so, we have monthly sessions and monthly meetings that we connect and collaborate. So we're able to really share some of those best practices. Because of my prior experience at the county level, we also work with the county and really learning more about, what's going on with the CPUC, which is the California Public Utilities Commission, and what statewide initiatives that the county as well as the state is trying to address. So that way we're positioned for any potential, grants and dollars. So we are collaborating. I would tell you that all of my colleagues are super busy. And so trying to find that Friday or that lunchtime to connect is always important. I have colleagues who I text, who I call for advice or some guidance, and it's reciprocal as well. I do want to make sure that I put in a plug for just some of the things that we're trying to do here in Linwood as well. I will tell you that one of the essential questions that we're trying to answer is, what does it mean to be financially literate in 2022? We know that, again, it's just more than just dollars and cents these days. And so you hear a lot of the stuff around fintech, right? And so that kind of goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do in terms of digital equity, right? And so with fintech and this whole new world of the blockchain and crypto and NFTs and Web3. And so we're trying to really put together curriculum that addresses finance and literacy. And so we're still scratching the surface of how we equip our students in this area. In California right now, when we teach financial literacy probably is in our senior year in a semester of econ. There is no financial literacy course that kids are required to take. So I'm really trying to start that conversation around, what does it mean to be financial literate in 2022? So be on the lookout for that.
That's great, Patrick. I appreciate that. It's individuals like you that are making huge impacts for our community. And on behalf of CoSN and My Market Media Group, thank you for joining us today. It's a great activity for us to speak with people at the district level all the time and share your stories and thoughts. If individuals want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach you? Is it through Twitter?
You can reach me through Twitter. You can also email me at P as in Paul, Gittis, Gittis, at mylusd.org.
Patrick's Twitter account is at PGITTIS as well.
Yep, that's right, Dan.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Look forward to speaking to you again in a couple of years as the project evolves.
Hey, Dan, thanks for your time as well. Thank you. Really had a great time at this podcast.
On behalf of the leadership team at CoSN, thank you for listening to this episode of the CoSN podcast. To access other podcasts in the series, visit CoSN.org or edcircuit.com for a complete lineup of engaging technology topics. Ed Circuit empowers the voices of education with hundreds of trusted contributors, changemakers, and industry-leading education innovators. For more information on MyRocket Media Group, please visit myrocketmediagroup.com to discover how you can be our next satisfied client.